What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Crypto and Coffee. Cheers. Today, we're going to jump right in and we're going to discuss Bitcoin. What's going on and why did you wake up poorer than you were when you went to bed? And secondly, we're going to talk about some expectations for 2018. You know, it's January. We can talk about some goals, some aspirations, and some ideas that you can ponder now, and hopefully we will look back on profitably. So, without further ado, let's jump in and talk about this chart in front of you. So, right now I have a Bitcoin USD chart from Coinbase pulled up, 2-hour chart, and you are seeing the last, looks like just under the last month. And there's a few things that I pointed out here, and we're going to start with that yellow oval circle right around January 2nd. So, what that is showing you is Bitcoin breaking through resistance at 14,000. And when resistance is broken or support is broken, you typically get a pretty strong, quick move. And you'll see from that candle, we broke through 14,000 and we got all the way up to about 15.3. So that's a pretty strong, quick move over a course of 2 hours. Now, what typically happens after a move through resistance like that is you'll see coins come back down and test that resistance, but not as resistance anymore, as support. And if you have a successful breakout, you'll see it bounce off that support and move higher. So a couple things about that. When you see a coin, or you talked about a coin breaking out, you typically have two buying opportunities. The first one is the breakout, and that's what that yellow circle is indicating. And the second one is the pullback. And the pullback is right here on this one. I'm gonna make a different colored ellipse, if you will. This is the pullback right here. All right. Now, what you'll notice about this pullback is it didn't pull all the way back. Now, we broke out from around 14,000 and we only pulled back to about 14.2, 14.3. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It does leave a little gap in the chart there. But in very bullish markets, people know that it's going to pull back and test that previous resistance as support. So what happens if you get a pretty bull market, people just buy earlier to make sure they actually get their positions. Nothing really wrong with that. I mean, you do leave a little on the table, but that's what happens. Now, as you'll see over the course of the next week, things started to break down. And our first indicator that something was breaking down was this double top right here. So like that one, purple. All right, so we have a rainbow on our chart right now, but this purple one here is what's called a double top. Now, there's also a double bottom, and both of those are indicative of a reversal. So we're moving higher. We test 17, 17.5, fail, come back down, retest it, fail again. That means most of the time we're going to start moving lower. So we're starting moving lower, but where are we going? Well, you had a minor support around 15.5, and then you had our major support down here at 14,000. So this support / resistance line was drawn weeks ago by me, and look exactly where we bounce, right? We bounce right off of 14,000. That is exactly what I expected. So at this point, a couple things can happen, right? We can continue to move higher and test 15.5, which I actually think we're going to do. And if we get through 15.5, that's great. That's very bullish, and we'll likely go back up and test 17.5 again. If we don't, we'll bounce lower and we'll likely come back down and test 14,000 again. Now, a couple things will happen there. If we bounce off 14,000, we'll have a double bottom, which means that we're likely going to go higher. If we fail, it means that's a pretty bad sign for Bitcoin, and we're likely going to go lower and test the next support level around 12.5. So that's what happened with Bitcoin. And I just want to reiterate how important it is to always look at Bitcoin when you're trading. We're not trading in US dollars. At least in my eyes, it's always in terms of Bitcoin. All right. The goal for me is always to use altcoins to get more Bitcoin. So in the Bitcoin chart, you use US dollars, but it's important to remember that the whole ecosystem is built on top of Bitcoin, not US dollars. So all of the other coins that you trade, all these altcoins, they're directly impacted by the movement of Bitcoin. Now, if you look, I'm always surprised at how many people that are in cryptocurrency and don't understand this. And here's a prime example. Let's say Ripple, for example. Ripple is 16,000 satoshis. All right. Now let's say that stays consistent, but Bitcoin loses half of its value. Just because Ripple is still at $16,000 doesn't mean it still is valued the same. In fact, it's lost half of its value because its underlying asset, Bitcoin, has gone down by 50%. People don't realize that. So it's very important to realize that if Bitcoin is going lower and your altcoin is going lower versus Bitcoin, that decrease in value is amplified. You're going to lose the underlying value of Bitcoin itself, and then you're also going to lose the value of your altcoin in relation to Bitcoin. People don't get that, and I think that's a major mistake. So really, really think about that. And if you have any questions, post it in the Facebook group or in the YouTube channel or in the private premium group, and we'll help get you up to speed on that. But it's really important to remember. So when Bitcoin moves, so does the market. Now, the thing with altcoins are when Bitcoin moves down, you'll see altcoins typically move down. And when Bitcoin moves up, you'll see altcoins lose value in terms of Bitcoin. So altcoins really only flourish when Bitcoin is accumulating or it's not moving that much. So you need to always look at Bitcoin. If it's consolidating, then it's a good time for altcoins. If it's not, if it's moving in one way direction or the other, especially quick, sharp movements, that's a bad sign for altcoins. Now, that's a higher level view of what's going on with Bitcoin. And I hope before you guys make trades, you'll always take a look at Bitcoin to make sure you understand what's happening in the market. You can put yourself in some bad spots trading solely based on the technical analysis of smaller coins, because those supports and resistance are not going to hold when Bitcoin has a strong movement in one way or the other. So that's all I got on Bitcoin today. I hope that's helpful. Next, I want to talk to you about what I expect for 2018. So for 2018, I expect, or I'm looking at two specific opportunities. One is Ethereum. I actually think this is going to be a pretty big year for Ethereum. Ethereum has underperformed the market recently. It is now moving higher over the last week or so. In early 2017, it was obviously on fire. It was probably one of the best performing coins of the year. But over the latter part of 2017, it definitely underperformed. Now, Bitcoin was a major reason for that. Bitcoin moving higher, all the forks definitely moved a lot of money into that. But Ethereum had a number of problems itself, which I actually think is good long term for Ethereum. You got to realize that a lot of these coins are still so new and not even close to their potential. So if we're going to have issues, we're going to have problems. We think about the DAO, we think about the parity wallet issue. You want to have them early, not in later stages. So Ethereum, I think, is a good bet for 2018. Now, another thing, and the second opportunity that I think plays directly into this is the ICO world. I think ICOs are going to be very big this year. So two of the biggest platforms for ICOs are Ethereum and Neo. Neo's primarily for Chinese-based ICOs. And there's a few others, but those are probably the main two. And people that aren't familiar with an ICO, it's an initial coin offering. It's similar to an IPO in your traditional equity market. So ICOs offer early investors a way to get into a coin or an idea or a business early, often with bonuses and incentives. So it can be insanely lucrative to find ICOs that have good teams, good ideas, are reputable, because when they actually release these coins, oftentimes you'll see some pretty monstrous returns. Now, unfortunately, if you're based in the US, you're unable to purchase ICOs, but outside of the US, you can do that, and there are a lot of really good ones coming up. So typically with an ICO, you want to look for pre-sale offerings. Pre-sale is something that happens before the actual ICO offering. You can get in often with a better rate, some bonuses, and you can get somewhere between 50% up to 50% bonus on some of these things, which is pretty significant. Now ICOs obviously come with a ton of risk. There are a ton of scams out there, so you should definitely do your homework on these. Always make sure that you are comfortable with the process of an ICO. Always make sure that you're comfortable with the team, and read the white paper, so on and so forth. But they offer a ton of upside potential, and this ties directly into what I was saying with Ethereum. The way an ICO works, especially an Ethereum-based ICO, which is on an ER20 token, what happens is you'll need to purchase Ethereum and to send into the ICO. So if ICOs really start to pick up steam and we see some really big ones, you're going to see a lot of people buying Ethereum, which obviously increases the price. So that's one of the reasons I think Ethereum is going to be big. And then secondly, the ICO world, I think, is ripe for a pretty massive 2018. So those are my two ideas for 2018. I have some others, but I think those are probably your highest return bets for the year. And with that being said, guys, I hope next Monday is a little better than this Monday, and I hope we have a great start to 2018. I know that 2017 ended with a bang, and I think we're going to do great things this year. So I'll talk to you next week. Later, guys.